I hope you're doing wonderful. Thank you again for your time and your attention. So, I was asked about living off a bicycle and the other nomadically, and the other person asked, or the question this person asked me was, how do I get into it? How did you get into it? And I'm not sure necessarily I could answer how they should get into it because I don't know them. So that would just be wrong and irresponsible. But I could get into why I got into it. And my my first hearing, one, I've always enjoyed my time with a bicycle, from BMX to road bikes to mountain bikes. I never got into that. Oh, what do you do where the bike barely has a seat and you jump up on trial something? That 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 stuff is wild to me. And but all the other stuff, oh, I've just so thoroughly enjoyed. Um, I think looking back on my life, like whether it's skiing, skateboards, rollerblades, surfing, something about that moment where you're carving through a turn or it starts sliding partway through that turn. Oh, I've just loved that. I love that feeling, that being able to see where the edge of something is and crossing that edge without, you know, wrecking an expensive vehicle or killing yourself. I've just loved that. So, one of the things that I've learned in life is if you can find an answer, like I once had a I once had a friend, two friends. They had just had the same experience, and one of them looked at it like it was the greatest thing that's ever happened to him, and the other one had never felt more violated before in their life. And it just amazed, at the time, it amazed me, that spectrum of how humans can look at something that's so similar and come up with such a different response. So I tried to put that to use in my own life, in that if if I'm going through something that I find displeasant, are there examples for me of people who have gone through this, who give thanks for it, who embraced it? So I was dragged into a domestic court, and at the first hearing, my kids were removed from me because of a picture of a firearm hanging on a wall. Breech open, pipe empty. Not that any of that should matter, but that was the reason to take away my kids. In a courtroom, not sworn in, with zero evidence present. And so I went immediately to the police and asked for help. And then I went to the county prosecutor and asked for help. And I went to the city of Akron prosecutors and asked for help. And the outcome of that was all my licensure within the state was then removed. And I remember having a chat with somebody at the county. I was like, you're obligating me to organize my neighbors and kill everybody involved. And instead of helping me, you want to continue the abuse of my kids and force me to train off a bicycle? Like, they didn't take away just the driver's license, they took away all the licensure in the state. So, being able to practice home and auto insurance, life and health insurance, financial planning, driving, all these things are now gone. just gone, not even a choice on the table. So, how do you embrace it? Now, I'd had the privilege in my life of having become masterful in some things. And in the process of becoming masterful, uh, you get to experience like one side of the experience of the phoenix, right? Learning something new, taking new things in, building yourself. But when something horrible takes place in your life, it forces you to let go of what is false. All sadness are lies. Not my opinion. Buddha. And I'm not saying I'm a Buddhist, or nor do I think Buddha was God. But there is a lot of truth to that statement. And the hardest example for me in finding that, addressing that truth, is in the sentence, the greatest sadness in my life are having my kids taken and criminally abused for the purposes of extortion. And hurts like hell. Like if you were going to torture the Hulk, how would you do it? You can't. You can't break him. You can't kill him. What are you going to do? Well, what if you took their kids, kept the Hulk's kids away from him, and then abused them every day needlessly? That'd do it. That'd do it. So it's an impossible position to be in. Impossible. So one's violence can be biologically obligated. Go ahead and take a kid in front of a father and then abuse that kid and expect that father not to have a violent physical response. Go ahead and choke somebody out and you're just going to expect them not to fight back for air, water, food, socialization, clothing, shelter. Like, there's all sorts of things that can biologically induce violence. In this republic, in the United States, that's also described in our Constitution. To remove one's First Amendment is to biologically obligate them to violence to be healthy. That's why in our republic, law enforcement, prosecutors, judges are all to feed on servants first, not we the people. Right? One individual doing something is far different than a public servant violating the Constitution for profit. Like that seeds violence in everybody around them. So the fact that all these things were forcing a violent response, how am I going to possibly deal with that? So when I was younger, I saw people try to diminish the hardships in life through drugs. Didn't matter if it was alcohol or pot or tobacco, whatever, or working all the time, moving it to outside validations. Like, I'm going to try to get the best grades ever because then I'll finally get shown the love and appreciation from my parents that I've always wanted. Like all of that is completely backwards and unhealthy. And I thought how the person that's being harmed the most by sparing the discomfort is the person who's in the discomfort. Like take Hippocrates, the widely regarded as like the first physician, if you will. To heal somebody, you must ask them first if they're willing to put down and stop the behavior that has led to them being unhealthy. You can't change another until they want to change. So what has to take place to get that person to want to change? Not for something external, but for something deep and solid and beautiful that's internal. And more often than not, through all of history, that moment is discomfort. So the question then becomes, how much discomfort can you take on? How much discomfort can you embrace while not losing your mind or your spirit or killing yourself? So life has a way for everybody of taking from them way more than they ever thought or expected. So when that time comes for you, how are you going to be prepared to handle it? What are you going to have done? So what I started trying to do when I was young is when something bad took place, I'm just going to own all of it. I'm going to own all of it. Like I would get blamed for things that I didn't do, accept it as though you did. I did a bunch of other stuff that I knew wasn't right, it wasn't my best, that I didn't get caught on, when I just accept it. The person's already judged me. The person's already yelling at me as though I did it. All right, you're right. I'm very sorry. What can I do to help? I'd like to help clean up that mess and be part of the solution. What can I do to help? Just accept it. Like sometimes you drink a beer and the next one, I'm talking just one beer, and the next day you feel fine. And sometimes you drink one beer and the next day, oh, your head hurts, you're tired, everything's going horribly for you. Sometimes that happens too with accountability. What if you just embraced it? And what I experienced and saw was when when I accepted punishment for things that I didn't do, that was about the quickest thing that I could have done to get everybody involved to understand and to see clearly what I actually had done. Like sometimes judo, for instance, or jujitsu, if a bunch of energy is coming at you, why would you buttress yourself to like increase the volume of the impact? You embrace the direction of the attack and use the energy and the motions against the attacker. And I don't mean I'm doing this because like I'm trying to be clever. You look at it as though, and this is so very, very important, you look at it as though everything that's occurring to you is a direct result of you and your choice. And when something horrible and bad hits you in life, that is our opportunity to learn and to grow. So, what's required to maximize that learning and growing? You got to embrace it. You got to look at that and say, well, I had control over all of that. And I mean, be honest about it. You don't have any control over another person's reactions. You have control over the portion you played, how you responded, what you choose to do. I spent some time conducting music, and I would find it interesting how some conductors during rehearsals, they constantly were blaming the performers for the problems that they set into motion. Like no clear indication of when to start. If everybody doesn't come in together, guess what? The odds that they're going to be in tune are almost zero. So instead of fixing their lack of clarity, they would try to attack the problem, which was themselves. And a lot of times, like this whole unproductive loop is really driven hard by the ego because you keep trying to chase why. Why? Why'd this happen? Why'd they do that? You can't know the answers to that. You can't. So let's talk about the Pareto principle, right? Like all the atoms in the solar system are in the sun. Then the next best answer is Jupiter. And I mean, we just explained where 99% of where everything is in those two. Problems have that same shape. So if I caused the problem, that means I missed, like, I'm not even hitting the wall that the target sits on. Isn't that enough room to like just look in and be like, you know what? I got to fix myself. And now let's say you had both the answers, both the leading two answers to a problem correct. What's the first rule of leadership? Be the example. You got to set the example. So when you see somebody else making a mistake, if you don't have any emotional reaction to it, congratulations. You've become so masterful in that mistake that you no longer have an emotional reaction to it. So why would you judge them? If you do have a big emotional reaction to it, congratulations. You're getting an insight into yourself. If something good feels really good, you're way too harsh on yourself. I did that when I was young. I didn't see any value to myself. So when somebody reflected my best back to me, which is referred to as love bombing, how could I not fall in love with them? I'm falling in love with myself. So it's this impossible balancing act, if you will. Now, here's a couple other ideas that are really important. And I'm not getting distracted. We're still talking about the same thing. But these are very important ideas to have. Um, when I give my best in all that I do, that best that's being given is endless. That's that's a spot where if you reside there, oh, like nothing you could do would take less from you than you being present, giving your best. So, what ends up happening when you give your best and you're present is at the end of the day, you start respecting yourself. This is how respect is earned. But there's other magic that happens from it. Because I am present and I am giving my best, I'm allowing all those around me, because the first step of leadership, setting an example, I'm allowing and maximizing the opportunity for others' best to be present. And since we're social creatures, guess what? You can't be healthy without my best, and I can't be healthy without the best of those around me. So, how much health did I just set into motion? And I haven't had to focus on anybody else besides just getting my own shit together. So, in Boy Scouts, becoming an Eagle Scout, you learn that when you go into a campsite, you leave that campsite better than you found it. Growing up in a home that was very unhealthy led me to have a deep appreciation and gratitude for the homes that welcomed me in. I, why would I ever want to jeopardize being invited into a home that's healthy? That's the magic. Like when we're born into places, it's like a lot has been cast. There's nothing you can do about that. But if you give your best, then it's pretty easy to start understanding the importance behind kindness, humility, gratitude, forgiveness. And it's pretty easy to rejoice in the presence of truth. Now, everything right there are the actions that literally shape and define love. So, why would you ever want to practice less of it? Now, men, we do a great job of giving our best, which is why in the process of becoming a man, it's very easy for us to earn respect. Where we struggle as men, because I don't know if this person who asked me this question is a man or a woman, but where men traditionally, through all recorded time, struggle is in loving themselves. That's why Doesn't matter the religion. We are encouraged to love everybody around us. And the real genius, the beauty to that, is it increases the capacities for us to love ourselves, which means we will accept more love. Imagine like the whole world's ending, everything's flooding out. Your house is overwhelmed with raw sewage that bubbled up from the street, and sitting right out in that water is a cruise ship that wants you to come onto that cruise ship for free. And instead of accepting the invitation, you get on your roof and you start shooting rounds at helicopters. When you don't love yourself, that's what you do to help. And to have discernment would require you to become masterful in everything that's ever been a problem. You got to practice every mistake possible by humanity in every direction so that then you became so masterful in it that you could accurately identify what was going on. Well, that's impossible. And it sounds miserable. Like to carry a lie hurts the liar the most. To carry hate hurts that person the most. So, what would be left of me if I even attempted such a nonsensical thing? But if I'm present, like, can I be kind and a liar? No. Can I be humble and a liar? No. So, all the actions that define love obligate truth. Now, everything I'm saying in this, I'm trying to be as honest and truthful as I can, but there's still a distortion. The majority of communication is nonverbal. So, how well am I going to do at it by using words? I'm already handicapped. The sun, in Pareto's principle, the sun has just been removed. Now, I don't control how you hear the words or how you have defined words or how well you slept last night or did you get a good meal in you today? How are you doing emotionally? Like, I don't control any of that. So, how well will my words be received? So, if you listen to what science has shown, the vast majority of communication with words are distortions or lies. So, how important does it become for all of us to chase what's true with disregard to our own lensings and perspectives on it? It becomes critical as the answer. Critical. So if somebody's kind enough to invite me in my home, do I want them to go through more costs because I'm there? Of course not. Do I want to take? Am I looking at them as what can I take from them? Of course not. You're looking as a man, you better be looking at it at each moment as what could I offer here? That doesn't mean you force it onto the person, right? Back to Hippocrates. Somebody has to be ready to let go of that which made them unhealthy, which means, and they'll show it. They'll show it through invitation. Now, if you wanted to lead and you saw somebody struggling with a mistake, then you recognize, oh, I know what that mistake is. And then you find it somewhere that you're practicing in your own life. And then you say to him, like, I'm really screwing up this moment right here. And I'm sorry about that. And I'm going to try to get better at that. And this is what I'm going to try to do to get better at that. Would you please forgive me and be willing to be patient with me as I improve with it? And then you start doing the work. It's not about attacking the other. Now, once you become masterful in one thing, women, where men struggle with love, you struggle with respect. It's seemingly so easy The coward can always find the reason to justify their fear. But fear is self-fulfilling. Fear hurts the person who practices it most, and it isolates you, the fearful, from experiencing love, from giving love, from earning respect. And who knows they didn't give their best? A woman. So that's why it's so important for her to practice respect with everybody around her endlessly. Because then at some point she'll respect herself. Just like for men with practicing love. And part of that comes from us, this like the notion of us being an unfinished pyramid where our work is never done. So much of that, I think, is set into motion from a healthy man's willingness to say, "Oh, I could do that better. Well, give me another chance at that. I'll get it better." Rather than allowing the grace to be present of, "Holy shit, I did that pretty good." So go become masterful in something so that you can offer it to the people around you. Like I know the electrical code. I know how to be an electrician. I know the plumbing codes. I know how to be a plumber. I spent a chunk of my life being a welder, being a commercial painter, not like inside on rooms, but on like a parts line. And yeah, I've also done inside on rooms. Like, go get after it. 40 hours a week, 2 weeks off, times 50 weeks, gives you 2,000 hours a year. Once you do 5,000 hours of a subject, you have become masterful at that subject. That's it. If you did it full time and you did it 80 hours a week, guess what? Now you're masterful in 2.5 years. And once you become masterful in one thing, do you think it's easier or harder to become masterful in something else? And there'll still be things where you're like, damn, I'm no good at that. But it's through the giving of your best that you learn and understand who you actually are, what you're actually capable of. So the county they allowed the marital home to be abandoned. They allowed and promoted all the utilities. Like I had no money for food. I had no job. I was the primary caregiver of the kids. So they didn't shut down all the utilities of the house. Well, there's good reason right there to feel as a victim. Like, what are you going to do? Well, the first thing I need to do is do I have air? Do I have water? Do I have food? Like, you start going through the hierarchies that are important for survival. And as somebody who's lived off the land, I went and took a gutter. I collected 3/4 of the water on the roof, and I put it right into a trash can. So I had access to water. I grabbed out my backpack purifying pump. Started purifying the water. I could always boil it over a fire to purify it. Thank God I had been cutting down and working so hard helping neighbors around me with their trees. I had plenty of wood. Guess we're going to be heating this house with wood now. Instead of getting upset, I giggled. Oh, look at that. You want to do all these horrible things? I'm going to give you my feces for free. All I need is a bucket, and I can cause a toilet to flush. And I can reload the back of the tank. Right? Leave it better than you find it. Embrace the hardship. How healthy is it to have cold plunges? You get all the dopamine of drugs without the hangover. Your joints feel great. Your muscles do great. So if I don't have access to hot water but I finally get access to running water, how thankful should I be to have that cold shower at the end of the day? I feel no differently like I was getting stung by a bunch of yellow jackets. I just read a study about how they weren't using yellow jackets, they were using honeybees to help treat arthritis and all sorts of other problems. So when I was getting stung, I wasn't getting angry. That'll just help those yellow jackets find me even faster. I was I was talking honest. Come on, girls. I'm not here to fight with you. I'm sorry. And more often than not, they'll just sting you a couple times and that's that. I didn't need to get upset. And how would getting upset solve the problem? So if if you have been doing these things, then why would you limit the scope of your adventure? It used to be looked at once you become masterful with a blade, then you needed to carry two blades with you. Most cultures, it would be like, a long or a medium or a long and a short. And then you could walk in any direction as far as you want, and you would never have any problems. It's true for somebody who's become masterful in anything that is useful. So I can tune a piano. Any pianos in the homes around me? Any electrons in the homes around me? Any plumbing in the homes around me? What about learning carpentry? Not just framing out and doing big, ugly stuff like trusses and 2x4s and king studs, but what about fine carpentry like building beautiful furniture? Any of that stuff around you? So how nice would it be that when you showed up and you were invited in, you had the grace extended to you of being invited into a home, and you could give them. You could give to them. And love has nothing to do with about reciprocation. That is fear. That is giving to get. That's horse shit's what that is. That's not love. Love you give for the privilege of being able to give. Imagine if God treated you that way. God's only going to grace you with another day if you do everything right for Him today. It's not how that works. That's not how that works. And a leader doesn't set an example for the hope and the worrying that others will follow. That'll be up to them. And if they don't, then the only thing I can change is the example that I set. That's why the great leaders in history, like Alexander, he didn't sit back on the back lines. He went furthest, hardest into the portion that was most exposed or most critical or wavering. And he gave his best into the enemy, which was really good because his best friends, they're watching him and they're losing their mind like, our king's going to die. Like, oh my God, he just keeps driving into the enemy. He's surrounded by the enemy. I'm not going to be within 20 feet of my king and let my king die. So because he was busy giving his best, what do you think all those around him did? So when tyranny showed up at my door and it just started, I mean, it's amazing. No rights to own land, no rights to own personal property. They take all your licenses in the state if you owe the county any money. They run debtors' prisons because they don't want the victims to be out here, so we'll just marginalize them as criminals. And by locking them up, they get free federal aid. Prosecutors who haven't prosecuted like any public servants then pretend that they're great at their job because look at all these deadbeat dads they've locked up. They get union votes for it. So what becoming masterful and what owning a business, like they force you into seeing and accepting reality on reality's terms. There's no point me pretending I'm free. I'm not free. There's no point in me pretending that I owned a house. Obviously, I didn't. No laws were followed, and they just, my neighbor volunteer public servants were fine just stripping me of that, showing up and stealing all my personal property inside the home. Like, you just embrace it. You don't fight it, you embrace it. Apparently, my great sadness is a direct result of my unwillingness to accept reality on reality's terms. So, since all of this was very sad and upsetting, apparently I've been carrying a lot of lies. And it's time to let those go. So, how am I ever going to manage this? Well, if I could figure out how to live a life that is worthy of me, embrace everything that's happening, and then live the life that answers those problems. Well, my government's hunting me. I'm a slave that's hunted. I'm being predated on. All these institutions are supposedly in place to help with that. Did I ask them for help? Yes, I did. It just accelerated their abuses of me. Well, if you're being hunted, what's the next thing you should do? It shouldn't be predictable where you are. I met a lady who had lived through Nazis going through Poland. And I mean, those Nazis were killing everything. So she was known in that city, and she worked against the Nazis. How is she going to not be caught? And I had the privilege of hanging out one evening, chatting with this sweet lady, this badass grandma. And the question I asked her was, how did you avoid being caught? Like, how'd you get away with it? And she started laughing. She's like, all the interviews that I've been given, nobody's ever asked me that. I was like, seems like it should be the first question. Germans are really good at hunting and tracking and finding things. So how'd you avoid that? Never spend the night twice in the same place. It's better if you don't even know where you're going to spend the night, and get going. Well, so the interesting thing about truth is truth will answer more problems. Like, the more truer of an answer you find, the more problems that it can answer. For example, when I mentored business owners starting in the startup phase of the business, you fund your retirement. Like, if you don't pay yourself, nobody else is going to pay yourself. And so if you're going to pay yourself, where should you put that money? You put it right into your retirement. You know what's not going to be taken from you in bankruptcy if you fail at business? Your retirement. If everything goes great with your business and you succeed with your business, you know what you should have done first with your money? Fund your retirement. So there's an answer that exists that applies to best case and worst case scenario. So let's pretend I had a mom that loved me and cared about me, and family that loved me and cared about me. Then me, as a healthy kid, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go out that door and go have an adventure. The greatest adventure ever, my life. What happens as a hunted slave? What should I be? Get busy going. Get going. Go have that adventure. Now, since each day I'm forced into this impossible position that to be healthy, I need to be violent. To be healthy, one must be free. To be healthy as a parent is to know that your kids are safe, not being premeditatively criminally abused for the purposes of extortions, kept from you, denied access to you. I didn't build that house for me. I built that house, like my Walden, for my kids and my grandkids. So what am I going to do with all that? Well, I got on a bicycle. And I started riding. Since like I can't operate a vehicle, I guess I'll be doing a bicycle. I did try in the beginning of that to live out of the van. I could drive to a job, and I could sleep like maybe just a mile or two away, and then in the morning when the alarm goes off, go walk the dog, crack open my backpack and stove and make some coffee, and then get on in there and go spend the day with people. They were happy to see me. You know how happy somebody is when you're there first thing in the morning as a contractor? They can't believe their eyes. You know what a privilege it was to give your best to somebody, and they value you, they see you, they want to help you, they enjoy having you around in their life, they listen to you, they learn from you. Mm-hmm. Like the by denying access to somebody, like how do you practice kindness when you're not allowed access to the person? Humility, gratitude, forgiveness. So everything that defines love, I can't practice to the very people that I need to love, so that not only can I love myself, but I can be healthy as a parent. How the hell am I going to resolve that? And a lot of times, because people haven't become masterful or run a business, they don't pay attention to opportunity cost, which means, what am I going to become because I didn't get to start my day today making breakfast for my kids, walking them to school, being a chaperone, chatting with the school about what they're learning so that I know how I can help them when they get home. What am I going to do? So if I go live by myself, if I go into isolation by myself, what one, we're social creatures. So the strong independent, not it's just nonsense. We're social creatures. We're supposed to be strong and interdependent. I don't want my kids, when justice is finally present and my kids are restored their father, and I'm restored them, do I want them to see me having carried more hate and practicing less love? Am I going to be better able to help them heal if I'm not healed myself? And I mean, I'm thrown in a impossible juxtaposition, because what's the point? If you can't own anything, what's the point of earning for anything? And then I barely had any money in an account, and the Trump on a stimulus check was going to send out money, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I need tires on a bike. I need new inner tubes on a bike. I need this on the bike. I would love to get a tent. And guess what? County took all of it. Just reached in and took it. Didn't matter that they didn't follow any laws. They haven't followed any laws to begin with. So what would it matter? So why, as a slave, would I try to like earn money or pretend I get to own something? Until justice is present, I'm still a slave. And if a slave is going to be forced to become a Marcus Aurelius of America, then you can't fight an enemy that you're dependent on. I don't want to have to kill an enemy that I'm dependent on for their existence. And my freedom and my kids' freedoms and bringing an end to the abuse of my kids, that's worth winning that fight. So, how am I going to live a life like there was a chunk of my life where I lived out of an English sports car so I could rock climb all the time? I don't want to live out of like a VW van. Who wants to drive one of those? Give me like a small English sports car, beautiful aesthetic, fun as hell to drive, simple to wrench on. Oh, I loved it. That's why I got myself an MG. trunk held the climbing gear in a backpack. Oh, what do you need? What more could you possibly need? Yes, food costs something. I'm in Ohio, and Ohio is referred to as God's breadbasket. Now, this past week, we've been in single degree temperatures and negative temperatures. There's not a lot of food to be found outside. It's very severe. And if I do kill a rabbit or a deer this time of year, there's not a lot of meat on them. Like there's not a lot of fat. They've been having a hard life too. So I forget who it was, maybe Nietzsche. A man who can live without society is either a beast or a god. And also the idea that a man uh, who lives without society consumes himself, or a man who lives with society is consumed by society. So I try to set up like a balance of that. So the first thing that's going to happen for me was uh, fight, flight, or fawn is going to be present because you're being attacked at every level. You're not only just being betrayed by your wife, being betrayed by the mother of your kids. My parents betrayed me, and society betrayed me. So you're going to want to run. You are really going to want to run. Or you're going to really want to fight. Or on some things, you're going to like freeze. So I set into motion the first idea, which is I'm not going to go someplace else when there's something good that I could do exactly where I am. And I would get real simple about things. Do I have air, water, food? First, am I safe? Am I currently safe in this environment? Yes, okay. Do I have air? Yeah. Water? Even better, I got a little coffee. Food? Yes, I did. Thank you. It was amazing and fantastic. Shelter? Yeah. How amazing and fantastic. It's a little sad. There were some beautiful people alive just not that long ago, filling the space with so much love. Oh, absolute magic. But yeah, socialization, I could probably stand some more of that. And so I had thought that I would give, like, add up 24 hours times 7, you get a big number. That's how much you're working with. So there's 3 8s in every day. So I used to spend my first 8 trying to make sure I'm healthy, taking care of my wife, then doing something for the kids. Now I'm ready for my second 8, doing something for a living, doing something to earn money. And if that goes well, when that goes well, now I got room for charity with my neighbor. And you get those priorities right. You take care of you, you take care of your spouse, you take care of your kids, then you take care of work, then you take care of charity. That's the only priority set that has worked through all cultures and all of time. So since everything's going wrong in my life and I'm being betrayed on so many levels, could I afford to then try to figure out a different priority set? That isn't going to work. It's not going to work. Now, I take care of me. Number 2 on that list, I'm not allowed to do anything. Like, how do you take care of somebody who weaponizes everything that's healthy in you because they're mentally ill? Nothing's more triggering to the mentally ill than being healthy, present. They don't rejoice in truth, they attack it. They don't see they don't see profound strength and patience and kindness. They assume stupidity and weakness. How do I take care of my kids? Like the state made sure that that's going to be impossible too. You got no, again, when I say I owned a house with no mortgage. I didn't have credit card debt. I owned everything in that house free and clear. All of it was took, remove, stole. What are you going to do? Well, you better exercise. I better start stacking, get focused on that one thing on that priority list. And being of service and being seen and appreciated, turns out if you do charity, you can start putting things in that category too. So if if as a homeless slave you are willing to shelter me and feed me and love on me, why how could I ever charge you money for what I gave I'm alive because of that. Why would I ever charge money for somebody who gave me so much? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Now, another thing that became very important is the idea that you don't want to enable people around you. And if I and then the other side do it too. If I love on somebody more than they love on themselves, you know what happens? They'll start treating you exactly like they treat themselves. They will attack you. They will project on you everything that's wrong in them. And you will get to see very quickly exactly who they are. All masks are gone. You don't need discernment. You need to practice more love. If you're kind to your enemy will show you their weakness. If you're humble, your enemy will overstep. If you're grateful, nobody will mistake you for your enemy. So if we could practice more love, we no longer need for discernment. So as you see how, like, I'm not allowed to drive, I don't get to own anything. Well, what the hell am I going to do? And so I started having a bicycle everywhere because I couldn't drive. To drive a car is to be harassed, endlessly harassed. It won't work. If you're not allowed to keep any money, if you're not allowed to work and keep money, how do you afford the gas? I had to pay $40 an hour so I could have 1 hour with my kids. That means every tank, this was back in 2016 money, but that means every tank of gas is like an hour and 20 minutes that I could have been with my kids. I'm not driving, I'm getting on that bicycle and I'm riding. If you were a masterful electrician, do you think somebody'd be happy? Like, well, I mean, I need an electrician at my house. Uh, well, are you willing to pick up the supplies? Yeah, if you tell me what to get, or even better, can I just take you? And then you can pick them out? Yeah. And could we pick up my tools? I was before the county took my tools. But the answer to all that's yeah, of course they would. So as the county kept taking more and more, that forced the transition of living off a bicycle. And I mean, I gave a lot of thanks. If you spend your day bicycling all day, the fact that everything around you is betraying you and abusing you and nobody cares. No, there's no counseling available for men. There's no homeless shelters for men. Nobody cares. Was an Eagle Scout awesome? I'll head into the woods, make a beautiful fire. And guess what I found? Lots of other people that society had thrown out. Well, here's an opportunity for me to be of service. So I tried in that, since there's so many 100+ hours each, like, right, I got 3 sets of 8s. So I'm going to use, since I can't sleep that well because all this craziness is going on. I'm going to give 8 hours each day to a family that's nice enough to take me in. And for me, it was that family, this this beautiful man was willing to take me in, and we've known each other since we were kids. His grandmother, his father's mom, used to invite me in, and she'd make me chocolate milk and eat Reese's peanut butter cups. She would feed deer and feed birds and do the same for me. His dad did the same. Like, how awesome is it? Like, what can I possibly do to hook that guy up? Like, he's amazing. And then I had a brand new Masonic brother who invited me into his house. Well, I just lost a wife. I just lost 4 kids. Now, 3 of those kids, like, they had already gotten through ages 8. So I had a lot of experience of spending time with a brand new young family in turmoil. How much of a service could I be to him, who's got 2 little kids and they're right in the middle of that chaos? What a blessing is it? What a blessing. And how long of giving both those families your best would you have to do before you think you'd get invited to participate in a Christmas? So here I am. My wife sold me into slavery, spent extra money for the privilege to sell me in slavery, bragged about how I was never going to get to see those kids, and then with her lies and money purchased the corruptions of the county. And that's exactly what's happening. Yet here I am in this beautiful home with these beautiful health couple. Yes, they were struggling and having their problems, of course. I'm not judging them for it. I'm thankful because it means I was able to be of service and give back since they gave me so much. How amazing is that? And then I would get on the bicycle and I'd ride to the other family. I'd do the same thing for them. And then I just wanted to get out and ride and go ride loops. And I would call them jumping into the abyss. I had no idea where I was going to go. I just ride to ride. And sometimes that meant I would end up finding some kid who was abused and beaten by their own family and was trying to find their way to a relative. Didn't have a compass, couldn't find north, didn't have a phone, don't know how to dry their gear or stay dry, don't know how to build a fire. Well, I can do all those things. I'll shepherd them. I could find another male thrown out of society because of the tyranny of a domestic court. And at some point, when the chaos hit the families that were taking me in, could I be there for them? Of course. You know how proudful and boastful a mom is of her beautiful baby who became a successful model and a successful business owner. And now her baby is all grown up with a beautiful family, and he's going to die from ALS. She was racked in all sorts of pain. But precisely because I was living through so much chaos present every single day, could she feel heard and understood when I was like, I know. Yeah. Yes, she could. Yes, she could. So and I would just keep doing these loops into the abyss. And I would end up finding the most like anybody's well the other thing I try to do is okay, so people who go through an enormous amounts of trauma, are there certain activities they get into that they find help them a lot? And ultra endurance, whether it's running endlessly, walking endlessly, bicycling endlessly, it helps bring a lot of peace. Because you don't get up in your head. You're forced to just being present. You have to learn to not be your own enemy because you're going to spend a lot of time with yourself. A lot. It also means, since you're going to spend a lot of time by yourself, you're going to get to see all the opportunities you were given so many times of so many different ways that you totally squandered. Not so you can beat yourself up, but so that you don't miss the opportunity that's here right now, today. And so I would trade work for bicycle parts and clothes. Like I have two t-shirts, two long sleeve shirts, heavy wool, light wool, and I can stack and wear all my clothes that I carry on the bicycle, and that keeps me good to about 20 degrees. I can do the teens. You get below that, I'm down to hours. I'm not down to days. But if it's like 40 degrees, I'll need to come inside. I mean, I need it for the socialization. I need it because if I'm not around people, how do I practice love? So then I had friends. I was in Rotary. I've been in Kiwanis and Lions and Mason. And my hero, Senator John Glenn, got me to do an Eagle Scout project every year. A community service project where the whole goal is to give more than you take when and where you are. Those are all healthy things. Since I'm forced to be in a position where I can't be healthy, the thing I need to be doing every day is more healthy activities, stack healthy activities. And if I'm going to become the catalyst for change of this, then I also have to be honest, present. No starting to work for my enemy, abusing myself. None of that. So I would go ride loops, and I'll listen, helping a family that's taking me in and being calm with all that. Like, I would need time to heal, which means I need to be kind of on my own. And so I would go out bicycling when there's storms. And that's when I would run into so many other people who are homeless. They didn't get to refresh up before they went into the storm. So how can I help them? I got a water filter. We can take care of the water. I know how to hunt. I can get you some food. I usually have some food in one of my bags. I'll share it with you. I can listen. I can ask questions. I can be present. And because of that, I can also then, I ended up having the moments where I would stop somebody from making a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And the temporary problem is not being willing to let go of the lies that are causing the pain, so that then they can begin to learn and grow and become something that's worthy of the sacrifice. So how could I live my life that would be worthy of it, so that at some point I can say, you know what? I would sacrifice my kids for the privilege to have been of service. I'm not aiming down. I'm going to have to aim way up. So that's the next point I would encourage you. Set your goals so high that you think you got a 50-50 chance of making it. That's not wisdom from me. That's numerous warrior cultures through time. Like, that's what they would encourage you to aim at. So I would get my clothing and my bike parts and anything I need from families that invited me in, that I would give more than I take. I would love on them just as those, like I'm getting another opportunity to love on my kids. That's how I look at the families that invite me in. I'm getting another chance to hang out and be around a family. And because I look at it that way, I get to experience what having a healthy brother is, what having a healthy sister would look like, what loving parents and grandparents would look like. Changes everything. It heals me in a way that's so deep and fundamental that my growth and my progress becomes inevitable. And most people, when they get to this place, they try to get out as fast as they can. They want to get out of it fast. It's like the cold shower. How do I get out of this? Rather than figuring out, how can I spend more time in this and be healthy? I've run businesses, I've managed businesses from small private ones to large sections of enormous corporations. What's the odds if a business owner invited me in, I wouldn't be able to help them with their business? I can't force it on them. So I would offer it, and if somebody is seeing me for who and what I am, don't you think that they would accept the offer? If somebody's seeing me, if somebody is being triggered because of what I am, they're going to project onto me what they are, so that they won't ask you for help. They won't ask you for insight. They don't see me. They don't see me. So it is really important that you go where you're invited, because to practice love, that's freely given. To practice your best, that's freely given, which means it's going to be transformative. And you can't force that on somebody. You must be invited in. And so, like, I started grinding up bicycle parts at like a very big clip: chains, cassettes, rings, bearings. And so the I'm so poor, I can't afford the cheap solution. Meaning, the amount of that I was spending in a year, certainly by 2 years, in chains and cassettes, costs more than a roll-off hub. You say, "Oh my God, that's like $2,000. How are you ever going to afford a roll-off hub? That's $2,000." The average cost of a bathroom remodel is $30,000. It's going to be $10,000 of parts and $20,000 of labor. If if I'm happy to do it and make this person's dream come true, and they spent $20,000 in parts, and their labor cost them somebody that they looked at as a friend, that looked at them as a friend, that they were happy to have dinner with or have breakfast with and have a beer with, how do you think they would handle that role? Hey, Chris, what's up, Jim? Do you mind if, like, I want to get into this hub? Absolutely not. Done. Well, where are we getting it from? Call them up. Let's get it right now. Did I take from them? Is there any reason that I would be boastful rather than humble when they've given me so much? And then one of the things I found is, when I would be uh, tired or getting sick, I'd be more inclined to attack myself with anxiety or depression. Depression, you're in the past; anxiety, you're in the future. Neither one of them being present. And so, how easy is it to give thanks? I tried to jump a double railroad track with a bicycle that was weighed up to about 80 pounds, and I shorted it. And I mean, I hammered that rear rim into that last rail coming down, and it knocked the bicycle into my ass and then catapulted me forward. Well, I broke the frame of that bike seat on my pelvic bone as I got thrown in just like into the trees. Well, that was almost a year, 11 months of riding a bicycle with a broken seat. And then the son of this house asked me, "Hey, what can I do to help you? Is there something you need?" I was like, "Yeah, there's this bike seat, and it'd be amazing if you could pick it up." Because I was on the other side of the state. He's like, "I got it." He hopped into a car, beautiful car, enjoyed the drive to the neighboring town, walked in, and hey, I'm here to help out Jim. And they were all like, "You know Jim?" It was amazing. And each time when I get on and off that seat, you know what I do? I give thanks. If I'm getting overwhelmed by anxiety or depression, you know what I do? I just start right on that bicycle. These grips came from da 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 da. This handlebar came from da 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 da. This feed bag came from here and there. Every single item I carry with me came from the beauty and love and grace of somebody who cared about me. How amazing is that? And by the time you start working through like literally everything I'm going to touch in my day on a bicycle, it's so easy to give thanks for them being brought into my life, me being able to be brought into their life, for the opportunity for me to have been of service and to give back something. Thank you so much for their happiness and their joy in seeing me, in their invitations to welcome me in, the grace and love that they extended to me and freely gave me. It's amazing. Get going. Get going. So if somebody else wanted to learn, like, how are they going to learn to live nomadically off a bicycle? I would say the first step to that is take whatever bicycle you got and start riding it. Just start riding it. You got work, you got a job, good. Good. Give thanks to that and go ride. You think the person who bicycles to work is the person who gets fired from a job? You're nuts. That ain't how that's going to happen. And when you spend all the energy to bicycle to work, let's say you're just a lowly janitor and you get up early and you bicycle to work, and then you get to work. How hard is it, you really think, to make those trash cans not only clean but like wash them out and just do an awesome job? Like, I'll carry those grabbers so I don't have to bend over. And in the springtime and summertime, when I'm bicycling, because I'll be deep into park systems and way the hell off trails, and I carry a trash bag with me, and I'll pick up trash. I don't want to see that. I need to leave it better than I find it. So, how long are you a janitor when you're bicycling to work? And like maybe on the way to work, you don't have time for it. Maybe your ride goes great and you're there early. So you could start walking around the perimeter picking up trash. Your boss sees you early at work picking up trash around. What are you doing? Well, I ride to work, and I like to leave things better than I found them. And I had some extra time, and so I was enjoying a cup of coffee, listening to some good music, listening to a podcast. Spend more time with truth and less time with distractions, which means you let all the electronic shit go dead and you're just present with yourself. When you're emotionally upset and you're just regulated, you take your phone out and you record yourself so that then you can watch and listen to it later, so that you can hear yourself. You can be friends to yourself. You can coach yourself. You can know you were heard and understood because you literally heard and understood yourself. You don't need antidepressants.
You need to listen to Mozart and go for a walk. Or in this case, listen to Mozart and go for a bike ride. It out Going for a walk for 20 minutes 3 times a week while listening to Mozart's Jupiter Symphony outperforms every antidepressant that pharmaceutical companies have ever made. So why wouldn't you use that? You know why people use cocaine and methamphetamines? Because dopamine makes you feel great. You know what that cold shower did? Caused the dopamine to spike just like I use the drug, except I don't get a crash. And my joints feel great. So start stacking healthy things into your life and just start getting going. Where have you always wanted to ride? I had somebody, if I leave the state, then the state gets to pretend and the feds get to pretend that there weren't any crimes taking place. So then they'll keep doing what they did, what the corrupt county did to me. They're going to do to endless more people, which means my sacrifice wasn't worth anything. It was pointless. But if I stay present, so if I'm going to stay in the state, so that then there can be an aspect of justice, then God, that might end up being a long fight. Do people ever ride bikes to try to raise money for a disease? Ride bikes to try to draw attention to something else? Well, now I have the opportunity to do that for this subject. How much anger can you carry if you just spent 8 hours on a bicycle? Yeah, and not. And the other thing that ends up happening is when you get into ultra distances, um, you get the entire emotional gambit put on you. You'll touch a high and feel fantastic, and you are going to touch some low spots that are just horrific. You keep your head down, and you just got to keep going. You just got to get really simple. And since I don't have any medical insurance, I don't have anybody looking out and caring for me. So, how important is it that I don't ride like a jackass? No, nobody in society cares at all about homeless men. That's exactly why domestic courts drive suicides, vet suicides, and homelessness, not to mention endless amounts of addictions, because it's so painful being portrayed on that many levels that you just need a break from the damn pain. Bicycling all day will give you that break. Whereas if I got drunk or I smoke a bunch of pot, I'm not actually getting a break from that. I'm getting like a false pause that's going to cause more pain coming. So, am I going to ride a bike in such a way that I'm inclined to damage myself or my gear? I don't have any money. So, how much gear do I want to be damaging? Nobody cares about me. Nobody's going to look out for my medical. So, how much of my body am I going to be inclined to? So, when I ride, every day is a little different. So you try to give yourself and be gentle and give yourself a chance to warm up and get loose and get into the moment. And then if you start feeling good and having some fun and getting it on, that becomes something different. I'd stop and take lunch, open up my pannier. Maybe I had a couple of bucks. I look at a gallon of whole milk is enough calories that I can go between, depends on the weather outside, but I got somewhere between 50 and 200 miles out of that gallon of whole milk. So how much is a gallon of whole milk? I mean, you could walk around a parking lot looking for change, just not begging, just looking for change that's dropped. Someplace where there's lots of people that you can find enough for whole milk. And if you were bicycling all across and somebody, hey, what are you doing? And you're sitting and chatting with them for a little bit. What does it mean? Is there anything you don't have? Like, you just live off that? Yeah. Is there anything I can do to help you? Well, I mean, I'm almost out of whole milk. Are you kidding me? Come on. They'd be happy to buy you a loaf of bread and some whole milk. You let them do something that's healthy for them by not trying to be anything but what you are. So, the real beauty about practicing love is it just sets into motion a bunch of healthy events. Without my humility and being humble, would I accept on somebody else's help? No. But by practicing being humble with another, I can be humble with myself, which means somebody is able to practice charity with me. And if I give more than I take, and somebody's been kind enough to help me, oh my God, what can I do? So I would enjoy also like stopping, like eating lunch at a grocery store to get the whole milk. I see a bicycle, somebody's riding that bicycle to get to work. Like you can just see the truth of it. Brakes aren't working. Like if you're gonna ride a lot of miles, you're gonna need to like it to ride a lot of miles is an eating competition with a little bit of bicycling. You're gonna have to figure out how to get calories in your body all the time. And it also requires that's the son of the Pareto principle. Then the other one is if you're going to ride a lot of bicycle miles, you're going to need to learn to become a very good bicycle mechanic. Let's say you take easy days and you just do 50-mile days. When your first week of 5 days of riding, that's 250 miles. Your bicycle's going to need some work after 250 miles. So I went in and got some whole milk and I came out and I had already wrenched on my bike. My bike was looking good. Is there anything else I got to do? Because you take care of you. Remember priorities. Then you take care of your spouse and you take care of the kids and you take care of work. Well, I'm doing okay. I mean, I'm doing okay. I need more opportunities to practice love. And I see that bike sitting there. Well, I got all my tools sitting on the bike. So I just start wrenching on that bike. Oh, it's able to true both the rims, fix loose spokes, took off the pads, rubbed his brake pads. They were glazed up and old, so I rubbed the brake pads on a little bit of sandpaper, held the sandpaper, flat to the sidewalk, cleaned up the brake pads, put them back on the rim. I had a water bottle. I just got milk. I need something place to put the milk, so I don't need the water in the water bottle. My hydration was doing okay, so I could pour a little water and use my rag that I carried with me to wipe off the bike and start cleaning that up. I couldn't adjust things better for him because he wasn't out there. Then I got on the bike and I started fixing the brakes and adjusting them. Then I started fixing the shifting because it wasn't shifting right. And then I had oil to oil the chain. So I clean up the chain as best as I could sitting there, and then I'm oiling it. And I'm just thinking, damn, man, if I knew whose bike this was, I could finish adjusting the bike for him. And then right after I had that thought, comes flying out this guy. Oh, he was pissed. He was certain somebody was stealing his bike. He saw somebody he doesn't know riding his bike, so it must be somebody stealing his bike. And so he came out so upset. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not stealing it. I've been fixing it. This is my bike. I can only ride one bike. I live off this bike. I just was fixing this bike. I didn't mean to do anything that upset you. He didn't know what to do. He was silent and he began to cry. And I was like, listen, I didn't mean to hurt you. And he's like, you didn't. I was like, do you ride this bike to get to work? He's like, yeah. I was like, great. I'm actually really thankful you walked out because I wanted to see you sit on the bike because I can help you. I can adjust the seat and the handlebars. We can make this bike fit you better. How long you ride in it, like in each direction? Well, I'm doing yada da da. I didn't ask him, like, what'd you do wrong to sit on a bike? I'm not trying to figure out how I can judge him. I'm trying to figure out how I can help him. He, one of the times I was coming through, and I needed more calories, but I just didn't have anything left in me, and so I pulled over to the side, like where he kept his bicycle is by this grocery store on the side of the building, and there's like some nice shade over there and some grass, and so I just sat down and went to sleep. Not because I planned any of it. It just worked out that way. Like you can ride so hard they call it bunking. Like you're out of energy. You're done. You've mismanaged your calories. You're just done. So I went to sleep. And I had maybe like $5 on me, and I needed to go like another 100 miles. So it's gonna be all right. When I wake up, you know, it'll all work out. It'll be fine. So I give thanks. I lay down. I go to sleep. You know who woke me up? That fella that I wrenched on his bicycle. He was so happy to see me. I didn't spend that $5 on milk for that $3. He's like, "Do you need anything? What do you need, man?" Well, I mean, I'm gonna need to get some milk before I go, so I get in there and buy some milk. No, you don't. I got you, man. You want whole milk? He went in there and came out with a gallon of whole milk and also heavy cream. Get more calorie density in those water bottles, and off I went. And I didn't help him on the bike with the hope, that transactional, that fear that someday he's going to give to me. I helped him on the bike thinking, what if this is my kid? What if this was another chance that I could interact with my kid right here? What if this is another chance that I could interact, that my spouse was riding this bike to work? Where can I give? And at some point in this journey, like the pain forces you to strip so much away, and you spend so much time practicing healthy habits that you start to remember, like I prayed endlessly for wisdom. You know how much pain is involved in patience and forgiveness? A lot. How about faith? A lot. Faith isn't developed when you have hope. Faith is developed when you've been betrayed everywhere and all your hope has been stole. Patience, when you pray for that, you're going to be given opportunity to practice being patient with the very people that you care most about, that are most important to you. And you got to do all of those before you start getting into wisdom. So, what an amazing opportunity I've been given to live off a bicycle and have my childhood dreams be made into fruition. And another's worst is your call for your best. Being betrayed by somebody I gave so much to, that's not the moment that I should give less or stop being my best. If my best wasn't good enough, then I need to make my best better. So I'd encourage you to lean into it. Read the story about the phoenix and understand that, like, that moment of betrayal, that hardship in life is when everything gets burned up, and you have to refine yourself through letting go of your let's not call it bad. How about we use the word unproductive or unhealthy perspectives and viewpoints and opinions, and you start letting that crap go. The only reason we ever picked it up was from fear. And how much fear are you going to carry? When you're 3,445 days into living nomadically off a bicycle, being a slave, being hunted by the very people that took oaths of office to help you, how much fear are you going to carry? How foolish would you be to carry fear? And one of the amazing freedoms that's often overlooked is the freedom from fear. And the cheat to get into that is by practicing more kindness, humility, gratitude, forgiveness. You rejoice in truth. Like when I chase an idea, when I chase a problem, I'm not trying to prove myself right. I'm not trying to prove why I'm better than the other person. I'm trying to find the app. One, can I best understand and discover what's the heart of the problem? Because if I don't do that, I can't figure out what the best solution is. And if I'm not chasing being present and giving my best and truth, what's the odds that I'd be able to come up with a decent answer? And if you're helping people around you to get to the bottom of the problem that they invited you to help them to fix, and that last part's really important. Like I know a lot about dogs, a lot. So if I'm in the presence of somebody doing something that's completely unproductive for them and the dog, then I very kindly and respectfully, well, we're not doing this. We're not going to be doing this. But that doesn't putting a stop to the thing that's unproductive. That's different than me saying, oh, well, they want me to teach them. If they wanted to learn, they could hire somebody to teach them. If they wanted to learn, they could have asked, been like, hey, how do I do? And you could teach them. But the only way that I found that you can increase the likelihood that somebody invites you to teach them is by you displaying being masterful of the very thing that they wish they could do. Whether it's the dog or if somebody's miserable all the time and you're a slave with all this kind of chaos and uncertainty and you're happy and you're thankful, who could teach them more of happiness than you? But what would have to happen first is they'd have to invite you to that. So you make it easy for the invitation, and then you lead by example and you give your best. And then get going. Get going. You don't need you won't have for need because you'll have presence. Start small. Like this last year, my riding took a big hit, and I went slow because I got bit by a brown recluse spider, and the back of my calf started dissolving away, and I got this huge fever. It was bad. It was very very bad, and it was amazing. It was amazing. There was a relatively new family, a new relationship with me. They were so happy to help me and care for me. They took me to a physician and all they do is they will only help people that have no insurance, no like you got nothing. That's who they're helping. Well, that's me. And it turns out that the person who was on duty, you know what they love? Like their hobby is studying poisonous bites, poisonous insects. How amazing is that? And I got a chance that the youthful childhood friend that I referred to earlier that gave me so much. You think he wasn't happy? Like, Jim, get on in here, man. We got a bed for you. Rest. How's it going? Do you mind? Could we see it? Absolutely. You know. So it ends up just becoming magic. So the things the things that are really amazing in life, they can't be given to you. You got to experience them. And living from a position of poverty as a slave from a bicycle, it lets you experience so much. Just so much. So just start riding. Get going. Find where your niche is. But like I use the example of picking up trash and being a good janitor because everybody can do that. If your goal is to spend more time riding, where in the United States are there janitors? Where in the United States are there electricians or plumbers? Those things can't be replaced with AI. So learn a trade, become masterful in something. And then as soon as you become masterful in one thing, guess what? Go do it again. You need 10,000 hours. Go do it again. Those 10,000 hours are going to pass whether you want them to or not. Go do them again. Put it to use. Not for the money, not for the recognition, for you. So you can be more masterful, so you can be of greater service. And then get going on your adventure. If let's say, well, I don't know anything, well, you're going to need to learn to wrench on a bicycle. So start riding that bicycle a whole bunch and wrenching on it. There's bike shops. Hey, I was going to ride a bicycle a lot. I wanted to get into that. I want to start living off a bicycle. And I don't know how to wrench on a bicycle. Could I come work for you? I would like to learn to become a mechanic. Get going. Get going. And whatever you set those dreams to being, remember, you're of so much value. You're so precious. You need to set those target. Like I want you to set them high. I want you to put them so high that you got like a 50-50 chance of making it come true. Not because you'll get the admiration of your mom and your dad or the admiration of those around you. If you're successful, you will have those things. But that's not what you need. You need it from yourself. That's where your peace comes from. So one last idea. The Seven Signs of Kevin Bacon, look up to how that game's played. But it's based on a mathematical truth that you only need to know 7 people, that you could know everybody on the spaceship. What happens if in this next year you were all the difference that 7 people needed? What if you saved 7 lives? Not because you forced yourself on them, because you're pretending to be a hero, but because they invited you to help them, and you did. And you steadied them through their hardship because you were well practiced at love. Well, every 7 times you do that, you change the world. What if I was only able to do that 1 time each year? 3,400 days is more than 7 years. That means I've literally changed the world. I didn't change it through violence. I didn't change it by becoming just like my enemy. And Ben Franklin, good things and bad deeds, goodness and evil, ring endlessly through time. I would also add they're both self-fulfilling. That's why the coward dies 1,000 deaths, because they don't ever know love. So the more you practice love, the less fear you'll carry. The more you worry and practice fear, the less love you will accept and or practice. So since fear and love are self-fulfilling, why would I want to bring my fears to life by practicing them every day and carrying them? Thank you for your time, and I hope this helps a little bit for that young person who was asking me, well, I want to do this. How do I go do this? If it leads to more questions, put them down on the bottom. Thanks again for your time, and know your love.